Welcome to episode 10 of the Tired Dad podcast. We did do this a week ago or so, but issues recording. So we are doing it again. We are recording. We have Ben Watts in the house, who's a business owner, a coaching person who helps other people. You've done a podcast with one of my guys, dads, who came on the other week with Luke. So you know all how it goes. Introduce yourself, introduce your family setup, and let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, as name's Ben Watts, 44 years old. Been in lots of different coaching kind of circles, football, cricket. A bar owner now as well with the missus.
Nice.
Got three daughters, 14, 12 and 10. And they're amazing girls.
Cool, man. Cool. Now, I know because we did this before, so I'm going to pin some little timeline things that we shared before because I really think it's important. You left the family home and set up in a one-bedroom house or flat, should we say, by yourself.
Yeah, certainly
Let's
did.
let's deep dive into that because I know so many dads that leave the family home broken, mentally tired, drained, frustrated, lonely, in by themselves. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I felt kind of like I wanted to go well before that, but you don't because of the girls and stuff like that. So it's if anybody's ever thinking it's a hard decision, it is. But there is kind of light at the end of the tunnel. Like I genuinely mean. At that time, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to miss the girls. I didn't want to miss them growing up and stuff like that. But just for me, and that was a selfish kind of decision that I made. I felt like I had to go. The thing that probably scared me the most was obviously missing the girls, but how am I going to start again? And what am I going to do? Is my business going to be affected? Are people going to look and judge me in a different way? So the people who come to me from a business point of view, obviously quite a close circle from where I live and stuff like that. Like I didn't want to be judged, but I thought, do you know what? I've just got to get out. So I did it. Ended up in a one-bed flat. Kitchen, living room, bedroom, literally all in the set. It was just random. And it was hard for the girls coming round. It was hard to try and get in a routine. But yeah, like looking back now, I'm glad I did it. Not from my daughter's point of view, but just like I say, personally.
So you literally went back to the beginning of restarting again as a man with kids. Let's talk about dad guilt, because dad guilt can be a massive thing. And you mentioned it briefly by saying that you didn't want to leave because of the girls and all that, so to speak. How big of a deal is dad guilt?
Yeah, I never knew how they were going to feel. They were so young. And this is, I tell them now, and they look at me gone out. They look right through me when I say this to them. I say to them every single time, I say, I'm so proud of like what you've dealt with and how you've done it, because it was a big thing, me just going away from the family home. The guilt, it gets you. Like it eats you up like you wouldn't believe. Like I'm not going to see them do this. I'm not going to see them go to school. I'm not going to be able to do their homework with them. Now, in fairness, because work was so busy, they would probably say, well, you didn't do that anyway. But that's not a reason to kind of look past that. The feeling of saying, I'm not going to be here when you get home, or I'm not going to be able to do this, and you've got to get used to scenario A and B and C and stuff like that was just absolutely mad. And you know what? It don't change now because everybody's obviously moved on. They've got a kind of new guy in their life with their mom. So it never really changes. Now, that's not guilt, but it's a fear of at any point your girl's turning around and going, oh, do you know what? I'm not going to see you as often as I used to. So it's just mad. It's just piles on. I was in a crap place.
And I suppose you by yourself in this one-bedroom flat, going from the family home to that, with then dad guilt on top, the mind starts thinking, am I good enough? Your self-worth you start doubting your self-worth as a dad and all that. Did I make the right decision? And all them things start kicking in. So how did you then get from that to become the man you are by rebuilding yourself? What tools did you use? How did you do it?
Well, it was at the bottom of a bottle for a start, which probably didn't help. And
so many dads turn to that though, don't they?
Yeah, do you know what? Like it wasn't. I've heard that a lot, and it wasn't like a binge thing or a comfort thing. It was just it was COVID.
Yep.
So the separation happened during COVID.
Yep.
It was
Order.
not seeing this time of year to not seeing kids at Christmas and stuff like that. Like I remember, obviously, that COVID during the Christmas time, I
Yep.
just like sat in the flat on my own.
Yeah.
And what else are you going to do? Like I'm
Yeah.
an active person,
Yeah.
and I remember on Christmas Day during that COVID period, I exercised twice. Like I did a workout in the flat, and then I just went for a massive long run.
Mm.
And it was twice on Christmas Day, and I was like, I can't see the girls, which is fine. It's COVID,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And you're just sitting there going, do you know what? What else is there to do? So you just
Exactly.
did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then just, yeah, I don't know, just something just like kind of flicked with me, and I said, I ain't having this. I'm not doing it. I don't want the girls seeing me like this. I don't think they knew. In fairness, there was a very good friend of mine who did stick by me, who was absolutely awesome, and I had a couple of close circle mates who did it. And my running's my switch off anyway. So
Yeah.
sticking a set of headphones in or not, just it is my switch off. And it was podcast because everybody was doing it at that time because it
Yeah.
was the in thing to do. I'm not a PT, and
Yeah.
I'd never say I'm a PT,
Mm-hmm.
but I did an online class for
Yeah.
people who just wanted to do something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they thought I was helping them,
Yeah.
but it was
The other
complete
way around.
opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
free. They were
Yeah.
like, "Why are you doing this for free?" And I said, "Well, hang on,
Yeah.
you're feeling crap about yourself because of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm feeling crap about myself because of other things. So if you want me to jump around in my flat and you're keeping active, like
Yeah.
I looked forward to that Thursday night like you wouldn't believe."
Mm.
And then
I can imagine.
they were just laughing at me because I'd have to put the settee back into the place. I'd put the telly back. And
Yeah.
they were like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "You don't know what you've done." Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, I am absolutely buzzing. And from
Yeah.
that on, it just went and went and went. And then I met my missus now, and I couldn't wait to get out of the flat. We got
Yeah.
a new place, which was then better for the girls. They had bigger rooms, etc., etc. And it just went from there, really. It was just a focus. Like,
Yeah.
I can see why
So
some people don't do it.
yeah, because from talking to you from before, and then I didn't realize we knew the same guy called Luke, and from talking to you again now, it seems you've got, and because you're a business owner, entrepreneur, it seems you've got this mindset of, okay, I'm in this situation, what do I need to do to get out of it?
Mhm.
And I think what a lot of dads do, and this is why you are successful as well, because what I think a lot of dads do is I'm in this situation, I'm going to sit in this situation, I'm going to feel the situation, and they don't look for solutions in how to get themselves out of it. Yeah, you hit the bottom of the bottom of the bottle for a bit. Yeah, you went through a bit of a down period, feeling sorry for yourself, I'm sure. But then you thought, right, what can I do to get out of it?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
and I
the key.
think, yeah, but I can see why people go the other way.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I'm not. You either go and do it or you don't. And
Mm.
like I said, I've only ever really had a small circle of friends anyway, because I don't think you need to surround yourself with loads of people.
Yeah,
And I think that's a good thing because they're the ones who stick by. Like I remember that Boxing Day during that COVID period, my mate shouldn't have come around the flat, but he did because he knew where I was at, and he don't
yeah,
live close. He lives
yeah,
far away, and he was. But we had such a laugh,
yeah,
and again, it was that, and we got pissed. We had a few beers and stuff like that, but then it was in a nice way, not an on my
degrading.
own kind of way.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
doing this for the sake of it.
yeah,
And like I said, yeah, I can see why people go the opposite way. You've got. I think everybody's got a drive in them.
yeah,
Like I genuinely do. But it's then how you find it. But for me, it was always the girls. It wasn't work. It wasn't or health. It wasn't. I mean, the Thursday night thing helped, and
yeah,
it was nice to be helping people. But for me, it was the girls because I was like, I'm not losing them.
yeah,
Because if I do carry on the way I'm going, when it becomes to the divorce, when it comes to future agreements and stuff like that, I'm screwed because
yeah,
I ain't
yeah,
got a leg to stand on, and I
yeah,
didn't want it to be like that for them.
yeah. So going through that process of rebuilding yourself, how was your relationship with the kid's mom at that time? Was it communication? Were you getting on, or was you going through the court, or was you going through mediation to get access, or did you manage to sort it out yourself?
But yeah, so we agreed a set routine, like a schedule that would work for them. If at any time it needed to change, I'd be happy to do it because they were having to get used to it. They've gone from
Yeah,
seeing me in their home to a flat and just something completely different, me being on my own, me
Yeah.
having to cook myself. Like, I'm cool with that anyway. Don't bother me.
Yeah.
It's actually quite nice to do it at times, but it was just all a little bit different for them.
Yeah.
They didn't go through the court, didn't have mediation until now, which is,
Yeah.
like some 4 or 5 years on.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was good with them. Like, it genuinely was. We've had, over the past couple of 3 years, we've had a wobble with one of them, but
Hmm.
I see it. Now I
Yeah.
get it. It was expected. There's a bit of anxiety in them.
Yeah.
Um, I think they're probably finding out about the past,
Yeah.
which, do I agree with? Probably not. Not at their age, but I get
Hmm.
why they've been told.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's now caught up with them, and I think it had an impact on them. There's lots of questions.
Yeah. Which you expected
Um,
anyway.
yeah, which I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It gets you when you don't expect it. So,
Mm.
like, it's coming, but then you could be sat in the car with one of them taken to a football match or dance, and it's like, bang, got you.
Yeah.
So Daddy, why do you do this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah.
I just need to wind the window down, turn
Yeah.
the music down, anything to stall them, and
Yeah.
just see, do you know what? Like,
I've got to
because
think
it
of an
just
answer.
gets you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind it, but you've got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, yeah. So communication was a great thing for you and the ex at the time because you were able to talk about discussing when you could see the kids and things like that. Which, and I always say to people, we said it last night when me and the wife did a podcast, if you can re-establish connection and communication, you're already winning, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's when you don't communicate and you go your separate ways that things start to go wrong, and then that anger. So then you built yourself back up. Now, as a dad, what tool would you say is in your artillery in order for you to be a dad now? You're not around the kids. What do you use most? Is it having fun with the kids? Is it being able to let them talk to you? Being able having access to you outside of seeing you? What's your biggest tool that you're using?
Yeah, I think, just, it sounds really daft, but I'm probably there for them more now than I was when I actually lived with
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
because it was work. So I
yeah.
I did a job that I had to travel. Now,
Hmm.
people, and I said this on Luke's podcast the other day, it sounds class, like Australia, Hong Kong, Nigeria. Like, I've never seen places like it in my life, and I wouldn't have done, and I'll
Yeah,
always appreciate the job. But it had a massive impact on the girls. It had a
yeah,
massive impact on my marriage.
yeah.
Um, and that they kind of still hold it against. Well, you weren't there though. You were always
Mm.
out, and I'm like, well, hang on. I was the only one working. That's not an excuse, but I was the only one
Yeah,
working in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
family.
yeah,
And now it's that motivation to say, I'm always here. So my eldest one is at the age where she might go, I'm having a really crap time, like, and I want to come and see you.
yeah,
So as long as she knows that that is the option in
yeah, yeah,
both households and
yeah,
vice versa,
yeah. Of course, yeah.
then that's a big thing for me. And I said it to my middle one the other day, who's now 12 or will be 12 soon. She was like, really? And I said, what do you mean, really? She was like, what? So I can just come and speak to you anytime? I said, I'm your dad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this is your home. This isn't, I said this on the last time I was with
yeah.
you. It ain't a place to visit. Like,
No,
you have a bedroom,
yeah,
you have stuff here.
yeah,
Like, when it's Christmas, you're going to get Christmas here. You're going to get a
yeah,
birthday here.
yeah.
So it's that, I think it's just that motivation to know that I am always here for them, and
Mm.
probably more so than when I
No,
was
yeah.
actually with them.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the key things is letting your kids know that you are there for them, whether if it's via a text, via a phone call, just popping round.
Yeah.
That still keeps that unit tight, and letting them know that you can be relied upon as well. Not saying you are, but then going, oh, I'll call you later, or I'll do this and do that. Actually living by your word. Let's just quickly go back to because it's a subject that I know a lot of dads find hard to understand, or not find hard to understand, but find hard to deal with. The whole thing of being a working dad, working. I've had a dad the other day that said he did like 700 hours in like 3 months or something like that. And the pressure of and the role that us dads take on in being the main breadwinner, being the provider. I know, and we've talked about this before, like when I was running 3 gyms before COVID, like I was working 120 hours, doing 90 hours PT a week, seeing my little one for 3 hours, even though we were together, we were married and all that. I saw my kid 3 hours a day on a Sunday. That was it.
Yeah.
So I really resonate with that. Was it all worth it? Let's be real. Okay, let's be real. I know what my answer is, but I want to ask another business owner. Was it all worth it doing all that and missing out all on the time of your daughters? Was it worth it?
That's a great question.
I know.
I
I've asked
I
myself
think
many times this question.
I think when you said it, when you were, I was like watching you ask the question, and I was just
Yeah,
going, no, no, no.
yeah,
It's like I don't think it was. Like I
mm,
genuinely, like where am I now? Could I have got to where I am now by
mm,
doing it differently? And I probably could have.
yeah,
What and I've said this 1,000 times, it gets a bit boring, but it's true. Like I'm lucky enough to do a job that I absolutely love. Not
yeah,
everybody gets that
yeah,
situation. I like
yeah,
football. I love football. I love cricket.
yeah,
But you're always punished for doing something that you love.
yeah,
I'm not saying like a doctor doesn't enjoy like fixing people and stuff like
mm,
that, because I'm sure they do, but I don't think they get it. My role is seen as a hobby.
yeah,
Oh, it's football. He's going out and doing football on
yeah,
Saturday. Well, hang on, I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah,
paid for it. Like I don't get it. Like
yeah,
I'm earning money to keep the house or do whatever you need to do.
yeah,
And again, during COVID, the divorce, I got made redundant.
yeah,
So at that point, if you asked me that question back then, I'm like saying no, because I've
yeah,
just been made redundant. I've just been divorced. I'm living in a one bed flat and I don't see my three girls.
yeah.
Not a sob story, but that's why I think it's just
Reality.
not worth it.
Yeah,
Um, but now, so I don't, I've gone away from the traveling because it was still having an impact on seeing the girls and being around them. So I kind of took a focus where when I got made redundant, right, I want to stay in the same kind of thing, but what else could I do to help
yeah,
us
yeah,
survive,
yeah,
live a decent life with the girls and stuff like that, make sure they're okay, but have that balance of seeing them.
mm,
So long story short, I'd probably say no,
yeah.
no.
I ask myself this question, and I continue to ask myself this question because just like you work your ass off. And even if it's for yourself, you can work your ass off. And I remember January 2020, I don't even share this with you, January 2020, just before COVID hit, I'd opened my third gym and I managed to get an hour and sit in a soft play with my missus and my little one, burnt out,
Yeah.
not knowing what I was doing, like who I was, what am I doing here? My brain was foggy. And my missus was like, "You are?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Just as men do, we're fine, we're getting on with it, blah, blah, blah." And if it wasn't for COVID, I actually wonder what would have happened. Like, would I have just had a heart attack? Would I have just had a massive mental breakdown? Because, yeah, on paper, like you're doing your hobby. I was running gyms, personal
Mm,
training, helping people, making lots of money. It was a great on paper setup. The
hmm.
reality was our marriage was going through the rocks because I was never there. I never had access to my child because I was never there. So I never had a good relationship. Yeah, it was great when I saw her, but it just wasn't worth it. And I look back now and this whole grind, hustling ethos that people try and teach you, it's BS, man. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
bullshit
yeah,
because nothing's more important than family.
yeah, yeah. And I wouldn't have and this sounds really bad, but I wouldn't have realised back then because
True.
you're doing every a lot. They say there's a saying, leave work at the gates. It's bollocks. That nobody ever,
It's knowing your own
ever
business that
does
don't
that.
happen. Yeah.
No, I think even if you're not owning your own business, like if you're driven
Yeah.
and you enjoy your job, you're not going, oh right, I'm clocking off, job done. Thanks
Of course.
very much.
Yeah.
Like
Of
if you
course.
can do that, fair play to you. But people used to say, "Oh, don't do that. Don't take it home." And I'm like, "But sometimes you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how can you, if it's yours, how can you leave it? If
Mm.
someone's messaging you, have you got availability for this session? Have you
Yeah.
got availability for that session? And then you feel a bit crap because you're not going back to them. But
Hmm.
then you're feeling crap about that when you're thinking about someone else's player or kid and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and you've got three girls stood in front of you going, "All right, I'm here."
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's mad. It's
It is.
absolutely mad.
It is. And I'm trying to get across to, and it's hard for some dads because they work for someone, so they're doing 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. They've got to provide. They need the money, so it's hard to not say, "Well, I've got to not work and stuff like that." But I think the bigger picture is be present when you're meant to be present,
Yeah, big
because
time.
it's so easy, like for us guys, to be on our phone while they're there. Well, I'm in their presence, so it's okay. When in reality is that whether you're in your presence or not, they want the connection, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, and I've done that more so than ever. Like my partner works in a school, but term times are different to my kids because they're in a different county.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
So like we could like 2 weeks at October half term. we'll be off the first week, me and the missus, but we won't have the girls. So then second week I'm off and I have the girls.
Nice. Yeah.
And nothing, no disrespect to my partner, because it's
Yeah.
brilliant when we're all together, but it's just me and the girls.
Yeah.
So I can't go, I just need to get my diary open. I need to sort out next week.
Yeah.
You just sort them out. And then it's like, do you know what? That can wait if
Yeah.
people wanted to. And I've never, ever done that. And I know it's easier to say it, but actually doing it, the satisfaction it gives you when you.
Yes.
Now, it's a bit of a killer then at the end, because come the Friday or Saturday, you sit down in your chair, the girls have gone, and you go, wow. Yeah. But it's like, it's class, because you know what a week you've had with them, and then you go, I ain't going to see them for 4 or 5 days now.
Yeah. So
and they'll never know that feeling of saying goodbye to them
yeah.
until you see them next time. Never. Nobody, unless you're in this position that we're in, will ever understand what it's like to say, I'll see you next week, kids.
Yeah.
Especially after such a good time with them.
Yeah. And I know, and the sad factor, isn't all this, is that most women never experience that, because most women have the kids.
Yeah.
So, and this is again another talk that we did yesterday. That and I know we're going off topic a bit, but my thinking is, if it was the other way around, I don't think dads would ever hold the kids away from their moms.
No, 100%.
And I think that's because the way we are as men, we haven't got that in us to be that type of way.
Yeah. So the amount of this really winds me up. Amount of times, like people, like family, and they go, "You're way too nice to your ex. Like you say yes to everything." I'm like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Yeah, but you do. Like if she says this, like you just give in." I'm like, "No, you're completely the wrong way around about this. The only people I'm ever thinking of when I send her a message or when I respond are the girls."
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So if there's a request, we've got some tickets for a game at the weekend, but it's your weekend. I'm not going to be an arsehole and go, no, it's my weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't want to miss out on that time. Is there a way we can get to that point where I go, okay, fair enough, she can go, love it, brilliant. So the other two are with me and my partner, brilliant. But at some point, can I see her and make up that time?
Yeah.
Or do you know what? If there's no time and it's too busy, school, etc., it's not around the holidays, it's cool. Like it's going to come, but you give it. It's not giving in. That's giving the girl something.
Exactly, and that's what the heart of it is. And you've hit the nail on the head. The heart of it is, what's going to make my daughters happy? You know what I mean? It's not what can I make things difficult for my wife and all ex-partner and all them sort of things. What can I make sure the girls are happy with the decision I make? And it's easy.
Could you imagine if I said no? Like, could you genuinely imagine if I said no in that? Like, it's Liverpool game, so she's just going to look at me and go, "You're a dick." And I wouldn't blame her in the slightest. But then that's not going to help the relationship moving forward.
No.
So,
and it's not, and unless people are in your situation, unless people know your relationship, then sometimes people need to hush them up, hush them off, because they don't know the situation you're in. Because sometimes making things easier is better for you as well.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Less hassle, less stress as well. And again, as men, we want less hassle, we want less stress. You know what I mean?
And I think people just think we want a Barney all the time, an argument, like a pick. And I'm like, I want the easiest life I could possibly have with the girls, without the girls, work life, whatever it looks like. That's all I want.
Yeah. And you've had your hassle being in a 1-bedroom flat by yourself with dad guilt, having to rebuild you back up. You've had your hassle, you've had your stress, you want an easy life. Let's round this up then, because I really feel that you've got some tools that you can help dads with. Because you've been through a journey. I was going to say a great journey, but it's not the great journey, but you've been through a journey that you can share and help other dads. What top 3 tools would you say, or actions you would say would help dads in a similar situation for you? What would you say they could do?
Talk to people.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely, I'm a rubbish talker. Like I genuinely am. If you put me on the spot and you ask me a question, I'd crumble. I'd be like, I know. Like, and people think I'm confident. I hate it when they say it. It's only because of what you do. I think as a job, I've loved these. I think these are class. I think sticking something in your ears, listening to it, then embraces you to talk. Because you're listening to other people do it. So. I don't think it really matters who it is either. If someone's willing to listen, then just talk to them, and I'd probably even include your kids in that. Like,
Yeah.
they are really good listeners,
Hmm.
and I don't think people appreciate that. You don't want to put pressure on them. You
No.
don't want to burden them because they're
No.
kids. I say to my 14-year-old at the minute, and I'll be saying the same to the 12-year-old, like, you, oh, Dad, what about this? And Mommy said that. No, you're 14. Go and
Yeah.
enjoy yourself. Please just go
Yeah.
and be a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
But they are good listeners in
Yeah.
a nice way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say talk.
Hmm.
I'd say be positive.
Yeah.
Even when the shit hits the fan, I would
Yeah.
say be as positive as you can. There is literally always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You might feel like you're at the bottom of a barrel. You might feel like nobody cares, or it's just not you, and it's the other side and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And you're gonna have good days and bad days. I still have them now. I'll
Yeah.
get a text, and you think, "Oh God, really?" And I used to be the worst
Yeah.
keyboard warrior in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
It would be like bang, 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 bang. And then you send it and you think, what a dick, why have I done that? And you'd know it's wrong.
Hmm.
So it's like, read it, put it in a drawer, going back to it. Do you know what? I wouldn't even read it now, and I'll go 2 days later and then go back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're just words.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, they are just words.
Mm.
And I guess the third thing would be just be there, and like you said, live in the moments with your
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
like, genuinely. And that's not in any particular order.
No. 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 No.
Like, you can't go, well, one is this and two is that.
Yeah.
They're just you bring them three together, and it would be like, if there's a question, if they're upset, don't read a message, don't go on your phone. Sometimes you have to, sometimes work does get in the way.
Yeah.
But limit how much that happens. Limit how much your mates are getting in the way.
Yeah.
Other family members are getting in the way. Like, just be there for them, because, like, if you've not been there for them in the past, then I think you'll regret that.
Yeah, totally, man. I think there's some great points. Number one, I think the biggest one is surrounding yourself with a small group of people that get you, that can understand you, but also not yes people.
Mhm.
People that actually say, you know what, Ben, you're being a dick.
Mm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Stuff like, because most people are yes people these days because they don't want to offend people. Whereas I'm like, you have a group of people where you're honest, you're open with each other. And if you are being a dick, call them out on it. So
Yeah.
that's key. Listening, and really, I'd say communication as well. Like, communication, talking to like your partner at the time, talking to your kids, and like you say, not putting burdens on them, but just getting them expressing themselves as well, which is key. Um, Being present, I think it's a massive one, because again, as breadwinners, we want to go out, earn the money, and do all the things, tick the boxes to make sure we're being a good enough dad. But sometimes just sitting in the moment with the kids, with the Barbie dolls or whatever it is, no phone, is definitely a key one. I have to say, Ben, one thing I do love about your journey is how you went from nothing, rock bottom. Yeah, you might have had a great job at the time and all that sort of thing, but then being made redundant, hitting rock bottom, and then building yourself back up to where you are now. It's inspirational, because I think there's a lot of dads, especially now it's coming to Christmas, that are at rock bottom. And I
Yeah.
don't know if
No,
you go on, sorry, go on.
no, you go on, mate. Go.
I was going to say, I put a poll out yesterday, on the other day. I put a poll on my Tired Dad's page, and it was a picture of someone,
Yeah.
about. Did you see it? Someone's about,
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
and 377 people said they felt like that man. And I was like, and I put something on my Facebook page, and people were like, "No way, I can't believe it." And I was like, "But this is where dads are at the moment."
Hmm.
I mean, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in married, whether you're not, there's dads out there that are feeling lonely,
Yeah.
disrespected,
Yeah.
feeling ungrateful because they're not feeling appreciated, and all these things that dads can go through. And I think people hearing your story, that you went from one bedroom flat to where you are now, it's going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think this is where they've got to speak up, because
Yeah.
you're coming on here and you're like, oh, I don't want to sound a dickhead. I don't want to sound like I'm now in a position where it's all roses and
Yeah.
it's all pretty flowers and stuff like that, because it's far from it, I
Yeah.
can assure you.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come on. So, like, when Luke asked me on his podcast, like, he's like really digging at me. What could you bring to the audience? And I was like, oh, don't know, actually. Like, maybe somebody might just take something from experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do with you. It's kind of like, if you're feeling as bad as you ever have, and I saw that picture and it don't half it home,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, there's something there. There genuinely is. Use your kids as the motivation. Use your daughters as the motivation. Use your
Yeah.
partner as the motivation. Use work if that's what,
Yeah.
like makes your monkey dance. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no
Of course.
worries.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, you you don't mean to come on and sound like, yeah, I'm this, I'm that.
No.
It's like
No.
genuinely listen to what it could have. And like I said to you earlier, there would be people when I was in that one bed flat, bottom of a bottle, blah blah blah, that
Hmm.
wouldn't have made it,
Yeah.
and that's just crap.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't come out the other side of it, it's
Yeah.
just I would feel for those people and
Yeah.
those people in and around them.
Yeah. And I think we've got to be real. Like you've just mentioned that you might have to go back to mediation, and that's after 5 years of things going okay. So it goes to show that, and this is why I wanted to interview real dads, because it's all right interviewing people that go, "Oh, everything's great. This is how we did this. This is how we did that." When real dads like yourself will be like, "Yeah, things are great, but sometimes they are shit because now we're gonna have to go back to mediation to talk about this and that and that, blah 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 blah." And it just goes to show that the path of being a dad who doesn't see their kids as much, or a dad that sees their kids at the weekend, it isn't as straightforward as, "Well, this isn't committed to it, so I'll see him every week for the next 18 years." Blah 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 blah. The
Mm.
path isn't like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah,
literally is winding.
and that'd be like a bit of advice as well. Don't The routines are great. It's
Yeah.
like we were chatting about before it started. Like
Yeah.
it's cool, but like the kids grow up.
Mm.
It could work both ways. The kids could
Yeah.
just turn around one day and go, "Do you know what? I'm 17 now, 18. Like, I don't want to see you as much." And
Yeah. Yeah.
God
Yeah.
forbid if that ever happens to anybody. But at
Yeah.
the same time, they might turn around and go, "I like being with you and your partner. I like
Yeah.
being with stepmom or whatever they
Yeah.
want to be
Yeah.
called."
Yeah.
And it works the other way.
Mm.
So like bit of negativity from the other house or positivity from the other house.
Mhm.
Like I I was having this chat with my eldest one. How do dads deal with another guy being in their life?
Mm.
Like, oh, that is bonkers.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
anybody ever think about and appreciate that? Like,
Yeah.
so your kid may be calling someone else dad
Yeah.
because you've
Yeah. Yeah.
decided to move away from them.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it is
And I think
crazy.
that's another podcast, mate. I really do. And that's because
Massively.
I've had many dads come out with me saying like, you wouldn't like the one yesterday. And I've got to quickly because of time, but
Yeah.
literally one dad said to yesterday, I've been a stepdad to a kid for 9 years, and the mom has took the kid away from me. And I'm like, you're a stepdad,
Yeah.
and you want to still see that kid, and look at
Yeah.
what's happening. So,
Yeah.
but
You're a
mate, I have
dad.
to say, I appreciate your time, mate, and your golden nuggets and advice, because I think a lot of dads are going to look at this and read this and listen to this and watch this and get a lot from it. So, thank you so much for again doing the podcast because of
That's fine.
what was before. I know you're busy, so have a fantastic day, mate, and I appreciate your time in this, mate.
No worries. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. Speak to you soon, mate.
Cheers.
Take care.
See you, mate. Bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.